Nice. Lovely to see everyone. How is everyone? Okay?
Yes, good, thanks.
Is everyone tired? I am.
I'm exhausted today.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the heat, Millie. I think I was in Batley and Spen yesterday. And it was really, really, really hot. So apart from it being a long day there and back, the oppressive heat. I'm like, I'm really flagging today. But thank you very much for joining us today. We all know where we go. And I think most of us know, even me, I'm experiencing on a personal level the damage that the COVID have done, in that the people who I were having to come to my house to do my treatments, they've all left the industry and, you know, diversified into other things. One is actually building jewellery, making jewellery. The other one I just not heard from, but you know, we've heard so many stories from people who are saying they're just afraid to stay in the business, and that's a real tragedy. So anyway, you know that we're recording today's session, and our speakers today are all familiar faces to us. Jack Tang from Urban, we managed to get you a mention in the debate, Jack, the other day. Victoria from NHBF for now. Karen Young from Editor and Communications Manager, Federation of Holistic Therapies.
So Karen sends her apologies, she's been pulled into something.
Okay, so we haven't got Karen. We've got Leslie Blair, the lovely Leslie. We got Millie, who's looks stunning in her dungarees and wavy hair.
Prepared for work today.
Candice Gardner from, hi Candice, and Sally Berkeley from CW UK. Hi Sally, and and Will Tricker. Oh, hello Will. I can put a face to a name. Hi Will, lovely to see you. Public Affairs Manager at L'Oreal UK. It's lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too.
I know, and again, thank you to L'Oreal for that excellent brief on the debate that we had in Westminster Hall and the NHBF. I think we've got the point across. It was really interesting how receptive the Minister was to what we had to say. I was encouraged by that, and I was also encouraged by the fact that I mentioned menopause and he also mentioned menopause, which made my day actually. Because obviously my mind is in menopause as well at the moment, and that's going really well. Okay, so I'm going to go around you all in turn, and we're going to start with you, Jack. So just give us a little overview of where you are, what more we can do, and then we'll try to throw some ideas together at the end of it. So over to you, Jack.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. So we're still, you know, from our previous discussions, but we're still, you know, heavily impacted by you know, sort of a mass attrition of therapists across the UK. We're still around 35% lower than our pre-COVID levels in terms of the number of available practitioners, and you know, obviously the attrition reasons, as I mentioned before, you know, I think the double whammy of COVID and Brexit really kind of expatiated the sort of the issues that are underlying there. We have been working very intensively to try to you know, try to understand, you know, where everyone is, and certainly COVID anxiety is definitely, you know, the ones that are looking to return at some point. COVID anxiety is still you know, a big topic that we've seen as well. We are you know, actively recruiting and obviously working with various industry and others, and obviously APPG, to really try to encourage the government and ask the government to support the industry by offering the national skills funding for the different level 3 qualifications, just to encourage more cohorts for the future years to come. As for the consumer side, you know, we are seeing, you know, top reasons for people to book. It's certainly around various sorts of issues that have accumulated over the period of COVID, working from home with poor setups and everything else. You know, certainly there's still a good chunk of customers that are reluctant to have any treatments. You know, we've seen that within our beauty sector and beauty verticals, that more DIY, you know, certainly from our beauticians, you know, the basket value has shrunk as a result of this. But I think, you know, on the consumer side, I think on a positive note, you know, is that people are becoming, you know, less and less anxious, but I think certainly more can be done to really kind of elevate and to recognize the industry and the needs of the industry. Yeah, so I think that's what we've observed across the board. Yeah, I think, you know, particularly on the complementary therapies, the common sort of reasons to book at the moment, certainly a backlog from sort of pain, you know, and issues arising from musculoskeletal, anxiety, and just kind of from isolation as well. I think these are the key topics that we've seen.
Thanks, Jack. That was really insightful. Victoria Brownlee. Oh, you've got a wonderfully interesting wall, Vic.
Oh, thanks. Keeps it interesting, doesn't it? If I'm boring, you can just watch what's going on behind me. That's fine. So speaking specifically on consumer confidence, we've just done our latest State of Industry survey, and it sort of confirms the anecdotal evidence that we've been hearing from the sector, which is after that initial reopening flurry in April that we had, where everyone was quite busy. The beauty sector was the first one to sort of see a quite immediate diminishment of that, where they were busy for the initial reopening, where people were just desperate to have things that they maybe hadn't been able to have since December. And then after that initial period, it's basically taken a massive nosedive. And I think 60% of the sector now say that they're quieter than pre-pandemic levels. I'm worried about that. But yeah, certainly from all of our data, it seems to be the beauty sector in particular as being most significantly impacted by the issue of consumer confidence, because I personally find that beauty is much more of a client experience kind of thing. So with a hair treatment, obviously that's an enjoyable experience, but I generally say when I go and use beauty, that's much more of a, I'm going to treat myself for something, or it's something I want to do that's nice for me. And the fact that now the experience has to be much more clinical and hygiene focused, understandably so, but that is the nature of what we're having to do at the moment. It's basically taking that enjoyment out of that service for a lot of people, and if they're going to be spending that money, then they want to be feeling pampered and treated and spoiled a little bit during that time. And I definitely don't think that people are feeling like that at the moment. So that's certainly what we found, and from the beauty businesses that responded to the survey, it seems very, very bleak. Only 1 in 4 are making any kind of profit at the moment. I think over a third are completely 100% reliant on government support in order to open their doors each day. Whereas for the wider sector, it was quite significantly lower than that. And for me, that's just a particular worry that in the responses that we got, basically, as the longer that social distancing continues, the more pessimistic they are about their survival expectations. So we need to see a situation where the government is being open with us about exactly where we are going to be in terms of the restrictions going forward when we get to the 19th of July and hopefully things reopen. Where do we stand status wise with the operational guidance documents? Is it that they fall away and everyone can do as they wish, and if you want to have masks, you can have masks. If you don't want to have masks, you don't have masks. If you want to still have gaps in your chairs, you can. If you don't, you don't. We just need to understand that a little bit more, so the businesses can sort of prepare to know what they're dealing with for the coming months, especially as the likelihood is that as we get into those winter months, it's most likely that things will probably ramp up again and we'll be seeing more restrictions, perhaps lockdowns. We just don't know, do we? I think that they just want some kind of insight to know what's to come, and I know that's very difficult for everybody at the moment, but I think particularly for our sector, just because it is so much about that client experience, that we need something to so that they understand what kind of experience that they can be offering their clients to make it as pleasurable as possible and try and get people coming back through the door. That's my 5 pence.
I was just going to add, I
Thanks,
think
Vic.
it's like, I was just going to add that it's like a litany of things, isn't it? Because we've got crap weather, hospitality isn't kind of where it should be, events aren't quite back. We don't know what's going to happen with the lifting of restrictions. So we can't even really assess where we're going to be because we just don't know what's going to happen. So it's that whole litany of kind of, and people have become resilient. So it's such a sort of, a challenge to kind of see the future, because you just don't have a
Mm.
crystal ball. And I agree. I think with beauty, it's probably not as essential as hair in a lot of ways. But maybe, you know, being a bit hopeful, once the weather gets better, and we can't go on holiday, but once the weather gets better, maybe we'll see an uplift in beauty treatments.
You want to take your
Okay.
turn now, Melody, or have you finished? Is there anything else you want to add? You can take your turn now.
Sorry, me.
Yeah.
Leslie. No, I was just saying in response
Yeah.
to what Victoria was saying. I just think it's, you know, I think that she's absolutely correct. But it is a litany of challenges that we're facing as a
Okay.
sector, and it's, you know, it's very difficult to assess what we need until we know what the lifting of restrictions will mean for personal care. Because we don't know whether we will still have some, you know, mask wearing, visor wearing, social distancing. And we need to get to that point before we can actually assess where we are and how we're going to operate in the winter months.
Thanks, Millie. Leslie?
Sorry, girl, everyone, my camera's not playing ball this morning. I'm not at home and I might need to switch off, but I'll say as much as I can just now without sounding like a broken record, because I think it's just the same things that we're continually saying, that our industry's on its knees. We've got a problem of people coming into the industry. We've got lots of people leaving the industry and not coming back, which is a real problem. Speaking to salons, they're finding it very, very hard to recruit because there's no confidence. And I think people are worried about leaving jobs and going to another job in case they're going to have to need to rely on furlough over winter months. The uncertainty of our industry because of the restrictions as well is stopping people wanting to come in and work in salons, etc. I think consumer confidence, as Victoria and Millie both articulately said, that we have a massive issue with that, with still the mask wearing, the visor wearing, etc. So it is just, and I think Millie's just put the nail on the head, we need to know what is happening going forward so that we can plan accordingly. You know, I think that's definitely a big issue. We just need to really push the consumer confidence, try and get as many people back to salons as we can, and really highlight the fact of why it's important to go to the salon, the mental health, blah, 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 and how it is better and safer most of the time to go into a qualified professional rather than trying some of these treatments at home, which can be quite scary. I think people have got used to doing a lot of stuff at home, and we've got the city centres that are empty because offices and people still working from home. And then this, I don't know what everyone else thought, but this nonsense that they're going to kind of make that a bit more official for people, I think that's going to ruin businesses, because if people are then working from home, it is going to be the death of our high street. It's going to be the death of like London, Glasgow, Edinburgh, all the city centres with big offices, etc. and for our industry. But I think for me, sorry if I'm repeating myself, but really what Victoria and Millie said, I totally agree. And also Jack, sorry, yeah, Jack, obviously, from the business owner side as well.
Brilliant, thanks ever so much, Leslie. Candice? I love Dermatologica, just saying.
Thanks, Carolyn. I probably am going to give a slightly alternate perspective from how we're seeing things at the moment. I think there's definitely some conversation to be had around therapist confidence and how therapists are feeling in industry. I think we've noticed a really big churn in therapists, particularly in the retail sector. And a lot of the observation of that is, you know, lots of the retail side is seeing probably 40 to 50% downturn in footfall. So for them, the drive for the commerciality of keeping their stores open is huge. But the difficulty of that is that for a lot of the staff working in retail, they feel that that's a compromise to their safety. So I think there's a little bit of a difficulty in terms of what we're doing from a commercial perspective to drive to keep these businesses buoyant, and then how that, you know, sort of knocks on to the staff who have to be on the floor. And, you know, we're saying that ultimately that's 50% less people coming through the doors, but it's interesting that even with less people than there were, you know, before, the staff don't necessarily always feel secure. And that's not necessarily what the brands are doing or how the brands are working. It's kind of the bigger picture of what's happening in retail. So I think there is something around that. I also know for us, we've seen a huge upturn in people opening from home. And, you know, going to smaller operations. So either they're closing their doors on their high street stores, or they're moving away and resigning from, or they've been furloughed or lost their job or whatever, but they're actually moving to opening up from home. And I think there's sort of the possibility that, you know, I would say certainly from our experience of talking to our stockists and our account holders at Dermalogica, and even people coming into our retail store to us, we haven't seen a negativity in consumer confidence. Actually, we see this lockdown has been significantly better than the previous. So for us, we actually haven't seen any evidence of uncertainty from consumers. But what we are seeing is sort of a little bit of a shift in terms of the consumer's behavior of how they're accessing those different services. And I would say that certainly the mentality of a smaller business where you're kind of one in, one out, and, you know, there feels like there's a little bit more control. And then from the therapist point of view, that smaller business means lower overheads, and they can sort of manage the flexibility in the day-to-day and be a bit more adjustable on that. Seems to be very desirable at the moment for them. So I think the negative thing for the industry is probably the more of those small businesses that open, the more sort of under the radar they can land up being. And therefore, I guess the question of regulation becomes pertinent, because what's happening in your shed or in your room at home versus what I can see on the high street. So I think there's a question around that. But I also think that the evidence from consumer activity is we've spent a year primarily online, and so consumers have been exposed to all sorts of treatment services and things that they've never seen before. There's been a huge uptick, particularly in advanced services, that's accelerating at an exponential rate. You know, microneedling is just going bonkers. And so I think, again, this circles back to number one, you know, can therapists access skills and bridge into these new skills and all of that? Because otherwise they're not going to be able to exploit the commercial opportunities that will keep them buoyant. But secondly, how are we going to manage regulation to make sure that the consumer can have confidence? Because what we don't want is in 12 or 18 months time that we then have the knock-on effect of all the negative downside of issues, because I've explored treatments with underqualified therapists in a back room, treatment room somewhere, and all those other things weren't in play, and now we've got a huge issue with customers who are suffering with all sorts of side effects and consequences of that. So, you know, just to sort of top that off, I would say from our perspective, fortunately for us, we're not seeing as much uncertainty. You know, our accounts and stockists have been quite positive and quite buoyant. Our store businesses have been quite buoyant, although there is definitely footfall, but we are working hard to make sure that we're making more of those customers who are with us. But I think those are probably going to be the questions for the sector at large in terms of the skills and how we make sure that the skills that we're providing are actually matching to where the industry's going. And then secondly, that we look at that regulatory piece to make sure that the sector is in a secure place to be able to manage that consumer confidence and customers know what they're coming for and know what they're getting.
Thank you, Candice. Sally, over to you.
Unmute. I mean, I think I just would echo everybody. Obviously, CW is a predominance of our members of brands, but the salons and professional service providers that I've spoken to have said everything that everybody said. There was obviously the massive upsurge in take up at the beginning. That's very dropped off now. Lots of the salons have still obviously got people on furlough, or people have left their employment to take up and start their own businesses. There's a horrendous situation. You know, my hairdresser is trying to recruit at the moment and he can't find anybody. Like, he wants to train people. He's really good at nurturing, bringing apprentices in, and there's just nobody out there. And normally he's rushed off his feet, and I'm sure that's amplified across the industry. And then I think this kind of safety side of things, obviously with these people setting up on their own under the radar, that's a big concern, you know, down the line, which I think in 18 months or so will be a massive problem. So it's the recruitment side of things and people coming into the industry, which I think NHBF were talking about earlier this week or last week, which was happening before the pandemic. That needs to be looked at. That's a critical problem. So yeah, skill shortage and safety for me are the things which are, you know, danger points.
Thanks, Sally. And well, L'Oreal, Mr. L'Oreal.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, it won't surprise you to hear that we're hearing the same things, and that obviously the productivity is a huge issue for all businesses across the UK. Added that there's the looming debt crisis, which is creating a tremendous amount of uncertainty for any businesses to build and recover. And I think that city centres in particular are an issue that we need to focus on, and trying to work with local politicians, mayors, to kind of ensure that that consumer confidence message is put in their communities as well, and ensure that we're actively part of that debate in kind of what does the future of the high street look like. Because, you know, you will find a beauty salon, a hair salon on every single high street. So it's important that all MPs know that this is a really, really important sector for their local communities. And I think what we've been trying to do is trying to push this to local MPs. We're taking them on salon visits across the country so they can understand it not only from L'Oreal, but the salons directly, to hear what they are saying. And kind of we recently took an MP to a salon in Tamworth, where the salon owner was amazingly articulate, much better than myself, was basically saying, look, I can't employ some of the more junior staff because of the social distancing requirements. You know, really putting it back on the MP, what are you going to do to help me, to support me? Because it's just not the immediacy of the issue, it's the long term. What does the careers and aspirations of the sector look like going forward? So yeah, so we want a lot more certainty from the government so business can plan to build back, you know, the short-term pressures of the productivity and the debt, but also the longer term. How do we attract people back into the sector and ensure that we retain that talent to build back better?
Thanks, Will. I've got a few thoughts based on the things that you guys have come up with. I'm going to go back to, I think, Victoria's point in the beginning about the people are nervous about going in and it's not the same experience as it was. Speaking as someone who was absolutely addicted, I mean, literally addicted to massage. I've got one this Saturday and I literally live from one massage to the other. It is so important to me for my mental health that I've got something to look forward to. If I could go more often, I would. I'm not finding it's, for me, I don't care. I'm so keen to have that massage and I switch off completely that I don't even notice that the lovely young girl who does my massage is wearing a mask. You know, when I go in, okay, my temperature taken and she's got a mask on, I've got a mask on. I just want to get in that room, get my clothes off, get on that bed, and she could be naked for all I'm concerned, as long as I'm having my massage. So I think we need to think about how to get that message across, is that if you are into the zone where you should be when you're having this massage, then it really doesn't matter. You know, just get on with it. I mean, why would I don't care. I just get frustrated that people are saying, oh, I don't want to go and have a massage because you're going to have to wear a mask. What? You want to kiss her? You want to get on with having a massage? She could literally have a welding helmet on, as far as I'm concerned, as long as I'm having my massage. That's what the whole experience is about. I think we need to play up that message, but that's just me. 19th of July, opening up. We've got a different health secretary. You may have noticed there was a little thing happened at the weekend. I love the memes, they're brilliant, aren't they? I think the health secretary now has got a different head in terms of the economy, given his previous job, and given the stuff that he has said when he was on the backbenches. I think he's really keen to reopen as quickly as possible on an economic scale. So I think we will probably see things reopening on the 19th. I'd be surprised if we didn't open on the 19th. So I mean, I hope that gives you some hope. I can't say the same for Scotland, Leslie. I really don't know where Ms Sturgeon is and all this. In Wales, I can bring pressure in Wales. I do have a little screaming fit every so often, and it does seem, I do stamp my toes and my feet and rant on, and it does seem to have some effect. But I've got no influence in Scotland, I'm afraid, Leslie. That's not one for me.
Something,
I know.
Something that hasn't been mentioned, I don't know if it's worth considering, and if anyone else has experienced, our salons have commented the amount of cancellations because of obviously isolating. They've really noticed,
and that seems to have increased lately. There's a few people who, you know, I almost felt as if we were turning to some kind of normality, that we were booking to go for dinner and we were arranging things, and all of a sudden people are like, well, they've been pinged. That's the expression.
And that's normally they have a very robust cancellation policy where they can kind of cover their therapist's time, but now it's a very difficult thing because they can't expect them to come in. That was something our salons, not just in the franchise network, but across the stockists as well, had kind of reported as well.
I've noticed that, and a lot of people are saying that there's a lot more pinging going on. So whether something's happening, I don't know. I do get very frustrated that we see all these football matches on telly with all these people in there, and the beauty industry and the hairdressers are being, you know, curtailed in this way. I like I said, went to Batley yesterday, and I came back from Batley, and by the time I got off the train in King's Cross, I was knackered. So I thought, right, bugger this, I'm not getting on the tube, I'm going to get a cab. So we got a cab and we came back through Leicester Square. I mean, has there been a pandemic? Have I missed something? Has it been declared over? I mean, there were people. And right, England won, but there were people hugging each other in the street. They didn't know each other. They were coming from different directions. They were meeting partway. They were singing, "We're bringing it home." They were having a big hug, and literally kissing, and then moving off. People they've never seen before. I mean, if anything's going to cause a ping, it's going to be pinging like crazy this week. But so again, I come back to the stuff that we were saying originally. It always seems to be something which is seen as to be for women, which gets ignored because the beauty industry and the hair sector, they're not having a fair crack of the whip and haven't had a fair crack of the whip. And yet football, oh yeah, we're all in. The pubs are heaving, and yet you can't go and have a massage without having a mask on. And I'm a little bit thing about, so I've got to wear a mask to go in a pub, but if I'm sitting down, and I've seen the signs on the table that says, if you were not sitting, you have to have a mask on. So is COVID aware that you're sitting down, and it won't actually, you know, you won't get COVID if you're sitting down, but if you stand up, you know, we'll all walk around on wheelchairs if need be then, if that's what we need. It's crazy, if anything, because it seems to be, you guys are, you're easy victims here, aren't you? You are a sector which is so COVID friendly in that you actually have got all the prep done, which you do on a norm, and then all of a sudden you're the ones who've been you've been punished by told you when you're going to do this. You've done it all the time. It doesn't make sense to me. So I can feel another debate coming on there about the lunacy of it all. Homeworking, I get that. I understand that, but I am worried about the fact that a lot of people who are homeworking maybe won't have the skills to. Is there going to be any more safe than being in the salon? But what really worries me, especially for you product guys, is you lose a shop front there. So people will go into a salon because they do L'Oreal, or because they do Redken, or because they do Dermatologica and all the other brands, and they are, you know, they've decided that's the product they like and they're going to use, and you'll see the signs, it's branded. You don't know that. I mean, who knows that anyone's cutting hair in somebody's front room? You don't know that. So that worries me, that you guys are losing a shop front, and also things like Debenhams going under because you've got the franchise stores. So you've lost another avenue. I mean, in Swansea, I was thinking about this when we were talking. Debenhams is closing, and I really struggle to think where else in Swansea, which is a major city, the second city in Wales, where else you would have franchises. And I think the Boots have got franchises, but nobody, in my experience, uses Boots for beauty. They use Boots for getting medical stuff. And I know they do perfume, but I have never gone into Boots to buy makeup. I've always gone to Debenhams. So we used to have David Devons, which is House of Fraser, which we haven't got now. So literally in Swansea, if anything happens to the franchises in Boots, so until people recognise, we've not got anywhere you can go and buy your, your dermatologist, and if they don't sell it in the local chemist, you buggered, you can't get it, which is a bad thing, because the local chemist isn't going to be able to afford to stock the brands that people need to be buying. They will be able to stock the cheap brands, which don't last, but people will turn to online. And if they go to eBay, God knows what they're going to be buying, or Amazon for that matter, because we all know. I mean, I bought a Kylie Jenner lip, because I didn't know, I'd never heard of Kylie Jenner, so I bought a Kylie Jenner lip thing for 99 pence until Joe in my office said, can't be Kylie Jenner because they are a lot. Well, it must be because I bought it on eBay, and then the droning came. Hang on, I'm buying crap here, probably full of lead and whatever. So you guys again are susceptible to the fact that you're going to have rip-off, you're going to have intellectual property theft and everything else, and that's another big issue which you're going to see further down the line. All of a sudden, people are going to be doing Touche Claire, which isn't Touche Claire. You've got a massive problem coming down your way there. What else was I wrote loads of stuff. I like the bit about the politicians. Well, I like that. Can I just say nobody's asked to take me to a salon? I'm just saying. Not that I need convincing. I think that's probably what it is.
We'll find a salon in your area, Carolyn. I'm sure
I think we need to build on that. Now, one of the things that the minister said was that he was keen to have consumer confidence. So with the will is there. I always like to make eat their words. So if they say something, then I expect them to actually fulfill on that. So I think what I'm thinking here is that we need to take Paul Scully to a salon.
Absolutely.
As chair of the APPG on beauty, aesthetics and wellbeing, I think Judith and I should take Paul Scully to a salon and say, well, this is what's happening, and this is what you need to be doing, and this is the consequences of what you haven't done, and if you had done this. So I think that's a good thing. And one of the things that Millie was able to do previously, which was brilliant, was to galvanise supportive people to ask questions. And we had William Ragg, who will forever, he's in my debt now. He joined the menopause APPG because he said those fateful words.
Poor William Ragg, poor guy.
It's been brilliant, Millie, because now I've literally got him on a string. So when I say to him, oh, I need you to do this, he's so terrified that I'm going to turn on him and get all my beauty industry mates to turn on him.
Yeah, we had to literally call the dogs off. I was very worried. That went crazy. Do you know Paul?
Oh, we can do that again. We need to do that again and make sure the MPs are getting.
Here's the thing, though. Paul Scully's mother is a hairdresser.
Really?
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I've got franchise salons that would be more than willing to host because they are very, very opinionated in what's happening at the moment. So, I mean, we've got 2 in London. I'm trying to think location-wise would be best, but they would happily host anyone.
We invited Paul Scully to visit a salon on his local high street on the day of reopening, but
that's right, because Beatrice is on these meetings, isn't she?
We didn't get anything back from him, and indeed I think his private secretary slipped up in saying that they advocated him to do that, but he just chose not to.
Well, there's a job for me then in there. So I will get on to that, and we will take him. We need to go somewhere where it's not just hair, it's not just beauty. It needs to be a mixture of the two. And I'm not saying we get his hair cut, but maybe we get him. Oh God, I know I'm not going to say it again. Maybe we get him reflexology of the hand. I'm not saying what I said last time. I wasn't far wrong when it came to Matt Hancock though. Anyway, that's another story. So I think that's what we need to do. And we need to get people who have belief in this. Maybe the Women Inequalities Committee will go through with Caroline Noakes. Caroline Noakes would love to go anyway, but we have a lot of people now who join in this APPG. I think, right, to blow at the trumpet of the work that we do, with Interel and with anything that sensible politicians get involved with, is there are APPGs on everything from flying a pink balloon to out to Mongolia, and most of them are talking shops. So when people say, some people say, oh, I've got an APPG, it's like, oh, have you? But the APPGs which are good, like the one on gambling, blow my own trumpet, like the one on menopause is going to be, blow my own trumpet, and the one on beauty are actually getting stuff down. When a minister actually says that they are waiting for your report, which Nadine Dorries said to us last week, because they know when it comes, which is the report, all the reports that we do. Ministers wait for our reports because they know it will be quality, it'll be substantial, and it will be reflective of what they need to do. And they use our stuff to actually form policy. So you're involved with one of the best here. And what we need to do is to use that reputation to build on the confidence in the industry. So whether that's be really good if you could get somebody to film something on the confidence, if we could get maybe one of the maybe not the BBC, but someone like Channel 4. Yeah, go on, Mel.
We've got 5. We've got Marie Claire are filming 5 videos that are sort of tacked on to the end of our Oh Hello Beauty campaign, and they are in salon videos with salon owners and the clients, and they're incredibly emotional. And the rough drafts, the rough cuts that I've seen are incredible. I mean, they are incredible, and I think we'll go live. I want to say July 7th. What date are we? 30. Yeah, next week. They'll go live next week. And they've been filmed by a guy called Simon Emmett, and Lisa Oxenham from Marie Claire has produced and directed the films, and they're absolutely spectacular.
Okay.
And I will share those with you because they're really heartfelt stories of what business owners have gone through and what their clients have missed. And it's amazing.
So that gives me an idea, Kath, for an evidence session from individual therapists and beauty salons which have really felt the consequences of this. And we have had something from the registry to say that the possibilities of having face-to-face meetings is returning, and I would like to do that with the people from the industry, is to do not a Zoom, because I mean Zooms are okay, you can get more people to come, but in terms of the impact that can have, I think nothing is more impactful than doing a face-to-face meeting. But we've got to use our resources, which is badgering, me, which is nagging. I mean, I get people like IDS to do stuff, like his head polished or something, but we can do these things. But we have to politicians hate nothing more than being asked by more than 10 people, and I'll use 10 as a benchmark, because anything less than 10 constituents is, oh, okay, we can ignore that. But anything more than 10 asking for the same thing is problematic because you've got an issue. So we need to get people starting to say to politicians, can you ask this question? Why is this? Why is that? We'll come up with a set of what they can ask, who they should be tweeting, and that kind of thing. Because once, and especially coming up to recess, and I will stay. We have what we call at the end of every session, we have a recess debate, which is you talk about anything that you feel haven't been talked about in the last year. So I will put into speaking that, and I will also do a business question to Rees-Mogg, and I will ask him to accompany me to if somebody can find me somewhere in Rees-Mogg's constituency,
preferably a massage parlor.
Oh no, don't. I've been set a challenge. I need to get him to say menopause.
That's
so if I can incorporate the two. Oh, I get him to say, yeah, you say most things for me. I mean, one of the good things about Mogg is that I get on with him, and he is pretty good at giving me a decent answer. So if we can find someone in his constituency, then I'll do a business question asking him to come with the chairs of the APPG to that place. And to meet the staff and the customers. So Paul Scully, we're on a mission here, guys, to get Paul Scully and Jacob Rees-Mogg into a salon ASAP. I'll leave you worry about Blackford. I'm not taking Blackford anywhere, Leslie. You see, we're problem. I'd not have always in a day to be on a mission with Blackford. That's my thoughts. I just think that will, if we can get like press, local press releases, Jacob Rees-Mogg is beauty salon, then you're going to get a bit more traction behind it, and it will show more confidence in the industry. And I'll go anywhere, me. And I don't care, like I said, you can have a welding helmet on. I don't care. I'm there. And more people like me we need who actually appreciate the value of the work and less worry about the mask. Any questions? I'm doing that program Friday. I'll get menopause and beauty in on that. That's what I'll do. Any questions on Friday? Chris Mason, I'll get the word beauty and menopause in.
I think just to add, Carolyn, I think, yeah, that sounds very sensible. I also think local mayors are also really important in this to instill consumer confidence back into their city centres. Because as
it depends what kind of mayor you've got, mine will, because we've not got metro mayors. I can speak to Steve and I can speak to Andy and Tracy Brabin, that's not, and Dan Jarvis, that's fine. But again, Swansea, the mayor is purely ceremonial. They'd have no value whatsoever, you know, in turning up. And by the time they turn up with all that paraphernalia, but the leader of the council is probably more influential then in places like that. And we need to maybe put together a list of towns and cities where there is ceremonial, or where, and in which case you get the leader of the council to go, or especially if they're Tory, and those who are like Steve who are, you know, have a bigger job. Like I'll speak to Stevie and Stevie Rotherham, I'll speak to Andy Burnham, I'll speak to Tracy Brabin, and I'll speak to Dan Jarvis, who I was with all day yesterday actually.
Yeah. And
Dan Jarvis is trained to kill. He's, you know, he's ex-paras. I felt so safe yesterday with him, except he drank a latte. I'm like, Dan, you trained to kill. You should be drinking liquidized nails, son. He drank a latte. Anyway, we can get them to do stuff, especially in the recess. All MPs are looking for things to do in the recess that, you know, can keep them in the local paper. So there you are. There's our challenge.
And I say that because, I mean, Sadiq Khan's kind of media, I think they're called London Partners, will almost certainly be doing a London's Back, go and visit the museums.
I speak to Sadiq.
So it should be that go and visit your, you know, high-end beauty salon or hair salon.
So why don't Judith and I formally write to Sadiq, to Tracy, to Andy, to Stevie Rotherham, to Dan, and to any other metro mayors like Sadiq, those who've got local, yes, Kath.
I think Victoria and the team, and I'm saying this, but Victoria Minister, is that we could write to all MPs, you and Judith could write to all MPs and say, can you get to your salon and take a photo and promote it?
But we will know, what I would like to do if we're going to do that is not just say go to local salon, but name the salons.
Yeah.
And actually say you can go to X, Y, or Z. We would be happy to facilitate that. So if they want to go, we can actually arrange that. So we then take control of the media, the press release, the photograph. So you guys, whichever organisation you are, you know, we make sure that if it's a L'Oreal salon, they can go there. If there's a dermatological salon, no, we make sure we send people. So you all get a fair crack of the whip if you like, and then we're in control of that. So how about that for a summer campaign? Is get your MP. I don't know. Just an MP.
Yeah.
Don't use that word, but titivated. This is the summer for titivation, isn't it?
Yeah. But you could write to everybody and say, get out there and support your salon. And I know others on the call have been doing that, and I think we will put something in.
Right, another idea here. How many on you with product between you could get 650 sachets of something to put in the envelope? Right. So we put a sachet in with a letter that goes to the MP, because somebody in the office is going to take notice of that letter if there's something in it free. So it could be a sachet of anything.
Depending on Candice, if we could 50-50, I could do a bigger than a sachet. Obviously, posting its volumes, but if we're happy that it can be different products,
Can be
then
anything.
it can be a bigger
Yeah.
size.
But not a mask or a welding helmet, because we'll keep them for me.
No, that I'm sure, but I'm sure we can get a good size of something.
And
I know.
so we're making this our summer campaign, guys, right? They guaranteed to have that. If there's anything in it, because I remember we've had things like mugs and tea bags or whatever. And Joe, you know what it's like. We argue over, you know, who's going to have the mug, who's going to have the tea bag. I never get any of them, by the way. No, somebody said to me Christmas time, "Oh, we've all got hampers from the Qatar embassy with a full bottle of gin in." Well, that train couldn't get you quick enough. When I got here, I never had the hamper from the Qatar embassy. I had a mug and a lanyard from Unite. You can imagine how disappointed I was. So Judith and I will do a summer campaign, which is let's get out for booty or something like that. It'll be the BAW doing it. We'll give them a freebie, and oh, thank you, Jack. See, and we get them, and they can go and not only can they have a treatment or get something. We were going to make sure that they all know the value of their high street and their high street beauticians, and we can name names. Then you, the people you've named, can follow that up with. We'd love you to come on, an email address or whatever. Photographs, Twitter, we'll trend. Right, see, done it again.
So we'll email round to coordinate this. Karen's ideas, and we'll email round and coordinate it.
And Joe's happy to go to any MP who won't go. Joe will go when you love. Me and Joe, I'll turn up and I'll say, "Hello, my name's Ian Duncan Smith. I'll come for a..." "Oh, hello, my name's Boris Johnson." I'll do it all. And I'll get Kia to do one as well.
If you let us know details of where to send the products and stuff, that's
Yeah.
no problem.
So find me someone nice in Camden and I will get Kia there.
That would be great.
Victoria is looking as if, oh, why does she come on these calls and start a performance, McNash? And Brownlee, she's another one who's thinking, oh, she's off again.
Well, Victoria's worried about all the work we're going to have to do, but
well, is this the first one you've been on, Will? Is this the first APPG you've been on, Will?
I think I was on one very early on when I started.
Welcome to our world. Wonderful.
Thank you. Honoured.
I'm going out, so I'm going to go into the chamber and do a Welsh question, not in Welsh, unfortunately. I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited now. I've got a mission.
Great.
I'll see you all soon. It's lovely to see you all.